The final judgment. Shocking revelation. You know the story. End of times. Trumpets sounding. The world in chaos. And then comes the final judgment. But what you learned in church is a lie. The truth about the final judgment is much worse and far more real than anything you imagine. Welcome to Holy Enigma. First, forget everything you were taught. Forget the image of Jesus sitting on a white throne judging everyone. Forget the simplistic concept of good goes to heaven, bad goes to hell. The truth is infinitely more complex and far more terrifying. According to ancient texts that the Catholic Church deliberately hid, the final judgment is not an event, it's a process, and it begins before you die. There is something nobody tells you. You are being judged right now, this exact moment. Not by God, by yourself. Ancient texts describe it like this. Every action leaves a mark on the soul, every thought creates a weight. And when the time comes, that mark and that weight will be seen. You are creating your own judgment daily. When you choose to do evil, you don't just hurt another person. You mark your own soul with that action. And that mark remains. It is recorded. It is immortal. Now comes the part that will shake you. There are 7 angels that the Bible doesn't explain well. They are called the 7 trumpeters, and each one represents a phase of the final judgment. First angel, you see the truth about yourself. Second angel, you see the impact of your actions on other souls. Third angel, you feel the suffering you caused. Fourth angel, you understand the repentance of those you hurt. Fifth angel, you see the opportunities you wasted. Sixth angel, you understand the true purpose of your life. Seventh angel, you receive your eternal destiny. And here's what's shocking. You are not being judged by God. You are being judged by truth, the absolute truth of who you are. And there's no escaping it. Because truth, according to ancient texts, is a living force. It sees everything. It knows everything. Revelation 20 tries to describe this. And I saw the dead, great and small, standing before God, and the books were opened. Another book was opened, which is the book of life. But what the Bible doesn't explain is, these books are your own actions, your own life, everything recorded at a level that transcends comprehension. You cannot lie. You cannot justify yourself. You simply see, and when you see, you understand. Now comes the true enigma. There is something very few realize about the final judgment. It is not collective. It is individual. Each person faces their own judgment, separately, at the moment of their death, not at the end of times. That's why the church doesn't talk about this, because it would mean judgment is already happening. People are being judged now. This second, while you watch this video, and when you die, it will be your turn. Ancient texts call this the particular judgment, and it is very different from what you were taught. You die. Your soul leaves your body, and immediately you face the truth. There is no waiting. There is no eternal purgatory before the final judgment. There is only truth, immediate, absolute. And you know deep in your soul if you deserve heaven or hell, not because someone told you, but because you feel it. The Bible tries to describe this in Hebrews 9:27. People are destined to die once, and after that, to face judgment. Singular judgment, immediate, no appeals. But here's what changes everything. There is a loophole. Genuine repentance before death changes the judgment. Not because you can trick God, but because genuine repentance transforms your soul. It literally changes who you are. If you spend 80 years being dishonest, selfish, hurting others, you are someone specific. But if at the last moment you have true repentance, you become someone else. Truth sees this and adjusts the judgment accordingly. Ancient texts describe it like this. Until the last breath, redemption is possible. Because God does not judge what you were. God sees what you have become. Now comes the question the church never wanted you to ask. If judgment is individual, if it happens when you die, if it is based on the absolute truth of who you are, then why does the apocalypse talk about a final judgment? Why is there all this description about the end of times? The answer is simple. There are two judgments. The particular judgment happens when you die, individual, immediate. The final judgment happens at the end of times, collective, universal. The particular judgment determines where you go. The final judgment determines what you do there. Because heaven and hell are not static places, they are dynamic states of being. And when everything ends, when history reaches its conclusion, everyone will be gathered to understand the ultimate purpose of everything. Why God allowed suffering, why there was evil, why there was struggle. And at that moment, everyone will understand, completely, without doubt. And there will be complete justice. But here's the true mystery that nobody speaks about. The final judgment is not just about punishment or reward, it is about transformation. When everything ends and the final judgment happens, there will be restoration. Those in hell will not be there forever. There will be reconciliation. There will be healing. There will be hope, because God's purpose is not eternal vengeance, it is total redemption. Ancient texts, especially those the church hid, suggest that even hell is temporary, that even those in a state of eternal loneliness have the possibility of change. Because God is infinitely patient. God is infinitely loving. And rejecting someone forever would contradict the nature of God. But this is heresy, according to the Catholic Church. That's why it was hidden. Because if people knew that even hell is eventual redemption, they would not be afraid. And people without fear do not obey. Now, after all of this, comes the question that will change your life. If you are being judged right now, if every action leaves a mark on your soul, if everything you do matters, how do you want to be judged? Not at some distant moment. Now, this second. If you died today, what mark would you leave? What weight would your soul have? And more importantly, would you be at peace with it? Because this is the truth the church has always known and never wanted you to know. You do not have to wait for the final judgment to be judged. You are being judged now, for every choice, for every word, for every thought. So comment, if you were judged today, would you be at peace? What mark would your life leave? And if this touched you, if you want to explore more about these mysteries of judgment, redemption, and divine purpose, subscribe now to Holy Enigma. Because while you are alive, you still have time to create the right marks on your soul. The final judgment is coming, but your particular judgment is happening now. May you choose wisdom. May God guard your soul.